Hey everyone, I finally finished Courtney's book, Within, and it was really amazing. I want to tell you a little bit about it. So, in the contents here, we have The Awakening, which is her sharing her experience, what kind of helped awaken her to her spiritual path. Then she talks about the ego. It's good for people to learn about that. It's something I already knew about. Then there's the word alcohol, which is another word for alcohol and how that affects people. And what she said about that, it was really interesting and eye-opening. Definitely worth reading. Then one of my favorite chapters is when she talks about the inner child. She actually goes through all the different types of inner child wounds you can have. She helps you like identify them. And all throughout this book, there's actually prompts for you to do some journaling. She's challenging you to reflect on what's happened in your life, to journal it out, and she definitely gives you a lot of tools and guidance on how to work through that and like heal and just have a very healthy mindset. There's some meditations in here as well. Then she talks about all the different archetypes. There's the maiden, the mother, the huntress, warrior, the wise woman, crone, the wild woman, mystic, the lover, the queen, the sage, the healer, the creatrix, the enchantress, the priestess. All through all of those archetypes, you might see little bits and pieces of yourself. I know I did, and it's like you can try to identify like which one am I, or am I a bit of all of it? But there's a lot to learn about each archetype and the stages of our life that a woman would go through. What I really love also in this book, I made myself some notes, so don't mind me, is she goes over the chakras, where a chakra is like out of balance. She helps you identify that and kind of guiding you how to get it in balance. She goes through victim mentality in here and shadow work. She also has a section in the book that is all about seeds and herbs and what their uses are for. There's also a section in here about the 12 spiritual laws, which I've heard of before, but it's nice to see that again in here and learn more about it. And there's a chapter on abundance, about money and like the energy around that, and that's very useful, helpful for most people. There's a little history on witches, which I absolutely loved. And it is an amazing book. There's a little touching on Archangel Raphael, that's the angel of healing, and this book's all about healing, so that's important information as well. But yeah, I loved the book from start to finish. If I were to pick anything that I didn't like about it, or maybe could have done without, it was just the different archetypes she might refer to, like maybe you've heard of them, like Demeter, or Zeus, or Persephone, all these, I think it's like the Greek mythology sort of thing. She talks about their story. I kind of got a little lost in some of that, like, if it feels like it's too much of a fictional story or hard for me to believe, I maybe like tune out. Like, I'm just not one to watch like cartoons or fictional stuff. I'm all about like real life stories that I can wrap my head around, if that makes sense. Anyways, so I got a little lost in some of those stories where I'm like, okay, I'm dozing off or I'm not into that. And then what I ended up doing after a few of those, which they go with each archetype, is just skip through or skim through and go to like the end of that story on those Greek gods and just move to the guts, the goods of each archetype. So that's the only thing that I didn't care for in the book, was just that. But you know what? That might be your thing. That might be interesting. It probably does add value if it's something you like or want to read. But other than that, this book was amazing. It's like perfection. It's so much healing, so much. Her story is so inspirational. Something else I want to say is like, I want to talk about like a slingshot. So when you pull something back a little bit, it doesn't go as far. Now, I want you to think of this in terms of like healing. Somebody who's been through like lots of trauma and stress and stuff. So let's say somebody who's been through a bit of trauma. You pull that back and launch them forward, they're going to go forward on their healing journey and they can do well. But somebody who's been through like a lot of trauma, like you're pulling that slingshot back even further. And when you let go, they fly even farther. So that's Courtney, in my opinion, is her slingshot, her trauma, her story, everything was pulled back so far that she's launched so far forward. She's such an amazing woman. She's helping so many people to heal. Her wellness center and everything that she's doing is highly impressive. Like I've done a little bit of healing work and hypnotherapy and all kinds of things myself, but her story is way more intense than mine, and I can see she's doing a lot of good in the world already, and I hope to be as amazing as her one day. So I really think you should check out this book. It's a book that I think every woman in the world should read.